Bowling with the Theft.
I encourage you to get theft.
What? All things the game of bowling.
Helping bowlers.
The hand collapses down.
And I'm going to try to bowl the best I can.
1,000 subscribers.
And I want to challenge Ted Nelson.
Tom Corbin.
Jason Belmonte.
Yeah, we're going to have to redo that open at some point because now we are well above 2,000 subscribers. 2,000 subscribers. Hey, welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef. An exciting night here in Bowling with the Fefville. This, of course, is the show where you share your bowling story to the masses through this YouTube channel. Bowling as a whole is a winner for it. You're a winner for it. So am I. Pleasure to be with you, of course, on, as I said, is what is a very exciting night here because we've got a big giveaway, and I'm going to have details on that as we go along here. It's also an exciting time because the PBA Tour is back on television this weekend. You've got the PBA Tour Finals from Pennsylvania on the CBS Sports Network. 2 and 4 on Saturday, Wisconsin time, and then 3 shows on Sunday, 1 p.m., 3 p.m., and 5 p.m. So 8 great competitors there in Pennsylvania. You got E.J. Tackett, Anthony Simonson, Jason Belmonte, Bill O'Neill, Marshall Kent, Kyle Troop, Packy Hanrahan, and Jacob Buttroff, all going for that top prize. So should be exciting. We haven't had the PBA Tour on TV for a little bit here. So, yeah, good stuff. And looking forward to seeing that. Rocky Harrison saying, yo, Fef, good to see you live here. And Jay Santos chiming in, says, hey, Fef, did I hear giveaway? You did. And we're going to get to details on that in just a bit. You do have to be live to enter to win. So tell your friends, tell your family, get them all live. And like I said, details forthcoming on that. Yeah, as I said on social media, a 6-pack of Chip Magnet Salsa is going to go to one lucky winner tonight. Really excited to give that away a little later on in the show. Some new PWBA winners to mention tonight, including a pair of ladies who are the first 2-time winners on tour this season. The 3 Classic Series events in Nashville have now come and gone. Malaysia's Sin Lee Jane was the first winner of the week, defeating Sherry Tan 257-208 in the championship. It is Sin's second title of the season, the PWBA Greater Nashville Classic, that is, and the third of her career. She also won in Rockford on May 11th. Tan then came right back to the finals in the PWBA Bowl TV Classic and defeated her Team Singapore teammate, Nu Wei Fen, 269-206. Tan now has 5 career titles on the tour, and Shannon Pluhowski, the champion in the PWBA Twin Cities Open last month, defeated Stephanie Johnson 204-193 to take the PWBA Music City Classic. Now, Tan came out of the Classic Series with 3 top 3 finishes, so a top 3 finish in each of the 3 events, and will certainly make a nice jump in the point standings, where she was 18th coming into the Classic Series events. The PWBA is just about to get things started in Indiana. The PWBA Southern Indiana Open PTQ coming up tomorrow. So a lot more exciting action from the ladies on tour on deck so far. Also, don't forget to check out the merch store, etsy.com/shop/bowlingwiththefefco. You will find 2 different styles of t-shirts and hoodies for your apparel enjoyment, I guess you could say. But great stuff there with the help of my production partner, Sam Zappa Henriksmeyer. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Handmade salsa is great, but it's such a hassle. Cutting yourself, the constant waiting, burning yourself. Oh, look at that mess. Oh. Raise your snack standards. Chip Magnet Salsa.
It's fantastic stuff. The best salsa on earth, and they are a proud supporter of bowling and Bowling with the Fef. Based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, they distribute to grocery stores in more than 38 states and Canada. And if you don't happen to win the giveaway tonight, we do have a deal for you. Go to chipmagnetsalsa.com. You enter the promo code BWTF2024 at checkout, 25% off of your purchase of $30 or more, and no limit on that bad boy too. Again, a fantastic deal from our friends at Chip Magnet Salsa, and they are also doing a giveaway with us for live viewers tonight. So if you're watching this on replay, unfortunately, you won't be eligible, but live viewers, stay with us. We will tell you how to enter to win, and we will have that winner picked out by the end of the show tonight. So we have a great guest tonight. He runs one of America's best-known tournament clubs. Complete Bowling Events is based in Arizona. It attracts top amateur competitors as well as touring pros. And there is a CBE coming up with a guaranteed $10,000 first place prize. Exciting stuff that Phoenix's Theo Douthit is at the helm of. He created CBE and has led its growth to what it is today. He is joining us live from Phoenix in an episode that we are calling the Southwest's Best. Theo, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to chat a little bit.
Yeah, good stuff. We've already got a ton of comments here. Let's see, 10-Pin Ben is on from the United Kingdom. Says, how are we doing, my man? Really good. He said he is awake for once to catch the pod. It's certainly a different time for him than it is for most of us here. So thank you so much, Ben. Ben Marston, who has come on the show before. Jay likes the 2 a.m. infomercial feel. Rocky says, hey, Ben. Ben says, hey, Rocky. And Rocky says, glad to see Chip Magnet finally gave you a code for a percentage off an order. I told you last year you should have one. You did. Yeah, we've actually had one for a little bit. So glad to offer a nice discount for our viewers here. Theo, let's kind of start out with this $10,000 Cactus Classic. What's it all about and why is it so significant for you?
So the Cactus Classic, we're now in our third year. I guess it's kind of my baby, if you want to call it. The 10K is what my ultimate goal was when I started off with CBE. I began, I used to bowl quite a bit. I don't bowl so much anymore, just due to life. But I'd travel with Matt Jones all the time back and forth to New Mexico for the New Mexico Open. And, we have so much talent in Arizona and all the surrounding states. And I just wonder, why don't we have something like this? So originally I was like, you know what, we're going to put together something that pays 10 grand to win. And then I talked to some people that are local that run tournaments and they said, don't do that. Start slower, build your name a little bit. So a little bit of history of CBE, that's how it began. But then in the middle of COVID, because our first year was 2022, so right in the smack dab middle of COVID, I said, you know what, I think it's time. We're going to do it. The center manager where we hosted at Lakeview Lanes, he took over the center and he said, hey, I've got some plans for this center. Let's do something. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now we have somebody. Because for a tournament like that, you have to plan well in advance. It can't be, all right, hey, in 2 months, we're going to put together this tournament. So I had somebody that was willing to save me a date a year in advance and go, yep, it's yours. The center is yours from this time to this time. Do what you need to do. I'll do what you need me to do. So, and that center manager is Mike Durmeyer. So I appreciate everything that he's helped me with. He spends quite a bit of time at the center during that whole tournament, making sure that everything is running smooth. Never had any issues with the center, the lanes, anything. So appreciate him. But yeah, it's become my pride and joy of a tournament, I guess, throughout the whole year. So it was cool the first year when I finally ran it to sit back and say, holy mackerel, I made that whole thing happen, with the help of some of my staff. I have Aaron Yamamoto that helps me run tournaments, and he was there the whole time. He allowed me to go hop on Bullstream with Emil Williams and actually chat, and do some of those things. He kicked me out of my tournament director seat and said, nope, you need to do that. I got this. Go take care of that. So I appreciate Aaron for that. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, to hear you kind of take us from start to present in this thing, it's not just, oh, this is a great idea. I've got some money. Let's make it happen. It's everything has to fall just right into place for this to kind of be not only the event you want, the format you want, in the center you want, with the money you want, and get, publicity and all that stuff. I mean, that must be a lot.
Oh, it's definitely a lot. Like right now, I'm right in the middle of the highest stress point time because, we're less than a month away. We're, just a few weeks away. So now it's like, and we all know how bowlers are. They're procrastinators. So last year I learned don't stress because I had, I think, 30 entries 2 weeks before the tournament, and I ended up with over 100. So yeah, everybody signs up last minute. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just accepting bowlers are procrastinators. I do the same thing. So don't stress too much on where the entries are now because they are going to show up. They're going to bowl. Everything will work out fine. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, all the promoting, all the other people that helped me out. Now, last year and this year, I've kind of partnered with Carl Ong. He runs the Agent Ong Open, and he hired me on to do that tournament. But with him helping me promote the tournament as well, and then all of our other great sponsors that step up every year and help us out, whether it's money, jerseys, bowling balls, whatever, it all comes together and helps to make it all happen.
Yeah. Give me a feel for some of the particulars of this event. I mean, obviously the headline is the $10,000 on top. But what about the format? What about the lane conditions? How, what are people going to have to, experience to, get down and dirty and hopefully win that 10 grand?
Yep. So when I put together the tournament, to start off with the format, each squad has X amount of bowlers that qualify, no matter what. No matter how many entries are on that squad, the top 7 make it to the finals. We have 4 squads, top 7 make it, so that gets 28, and then we have our Desperado squad, which is right after the 6 p.m. squad on Saturday night. It's a 2-game shootout, and the top 4 from that get in. And I'm 2 for 2 on having a roll-off in the Desperado. So great to have to stay there a little bit later when I'm already there at 1 a.m. So, but the idea behind that format was, I've been doing this for 7 years now. When I started this tournament, obviously I was 4 or 5 years in. And one of the constant things that I always heard of was squad equity. Yeah. Oh, this squad, was easier. So you got more guys in from this squad. Well, this nixes the squad equity. You show up, you got to beat the guys on your squad. And that's all you got to do to get to the finals. After that, it's heads up matches and your fate is in your own hands from there. So that was the idea behind having certain amount of qualifiers from each and every squad, whether there's 20 bowlers or a full squad of 45, and it also kind of helps to avoid having big groups of friends that all want to bowl the same squad and break them down a certain way, because now they're bowling against each other. Sure. So they might be more inept to, space out on the squads rather than everybody go, hey, we're going to bowl this squad. We're going to whack them because we're going to break them down together. Well, cool. 3 of you might make it out of the 7 because you guys all bowled the same squad. Sure.
I'm assuming pins don't carry over, correct?
Correct. Pins don't carry over because the finals is a 32-player bracket. Okay. The top 8 qualifiers, which I determined the top 8 based on the top 2 from each of the 4 squads are the 1 through 8 seeds. 3rd and 4th on each squad are the 9 through 16 seeds. The top 8 get 2 byes. 9 through 16 get 1 bye. The first round is 17 through 32, which is your 17 through 28, and then your final 4 from the Desperado. That's your first round is 17 through 32. Winners go on, and every single round, it's always the highest seed available versus the lowest seed available.
Okay. I'm trying to
until we get down.
envision what this giant bracket looks like in my head, but I'm sure you'll have like a big display out there, so everybody will be, be on.
Oh yeah, yeah. We usually have 2 big trifold whiteboards that each of the first 2 years I've asked Virginia Young, which is one of my bowlers in my leagues, and she bowls some of my women's tournaments and some of my regular tournaments. But every year I'm like, hey, Virginia, your handwriting's a lot better than mine. Can you do my board, please?
Yeah.
And luckily she's nice enough to draw all the lines and fill in all the names for me. So, because if I did it, nobody would have a clue who's bowling who because you couldn't read it.
Yeah. How about the lane pattern? Is there anything special about that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we've had a different pattern each of the first 2 years. The first year, I was lucky enough to have John Janowitz create the pattern. We gave him all of the information about the center, gave him the idea of what kind of scoring pace I wanted. Every single detail possible you could give somebody, I gave to John. And everybody knows JJ is probably the smartest person when it comes to, creating a lane pattern. So, but my main goal each year, last year I had Mike Calderon, who is at B3 Performance, and everybody on the national tour knows Mike Calderon.
Sure.
I had him create my pattern, but the idea each year is I want my cut number to be around even because I want to highlight spare shooting.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you get into the match play portion and the bracket, it's totally different because you're on your pair for 3 games, so you break them down differently. You can break them down how you want, but when you are bowling qualifying, and I've been pretty successful. I think every squad both years has been really close to even. I haven't had a cut score, I think, higher than like +10 or +15. So
that's
we've accomplished that goal.
Yeah, that's tough sailing for those guys, but it makes them work, guys and ladies, but makes them work, to get that top prize. I want to get through some of these comments too, because I'm falling behind there. Jay says Emil Williams covered a big youth masters tournament. His son bowled in, had the pleasure of chatting with him for 15 minutes. Great person. I absolutely agree. Carl says that you did it to us as well, you jinx. I can't remember exactly what he was referring to, but yeah.
Yeah, at the Agent Ong in the Desperado, we had a roll-off also.
The roll-off.
We had a tie for the last spot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, good problem to have though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it makes for exciting live stream.
Yeah, I'll say. Mark London, the newly inducted Minnesota Hall of Famer, getting feffed on a Wednesday night. Rocky Harrison says, wish we had had something like CBE here in Wisconsin with purses that big. We have a few close, but not that type of lineup. He's true there. You kind of have to go a ways to find a $10,000 first place prize. And London says, getting feffed with Chip Magnet. Yes, it really is that good. I agree. Speaking of, Jay had mentioned Emil Williams, and you mentioned some other huge names, JJ and Calderon. I mean, there's a certain amount of risk that goes into this, but to have those, those big names, Janowitz working the lane patterns and Emil Williams on the live stream, I mean, that kind of evens things out, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I'm fortunate that I'm, good friends with Brianna Cote, so I had the connection with JJ through Brianna. And then with Calderon, he's local, so, I've gotten to know him, and we're hoping to have a cool announcement of collaborating with B3 here pretty soon. But, it's really cool to be able to have those type of connections. And it was actually really cool because Emil actually reached out to me about the first year because, Brianna's on tour and she sees him every week and she talked him up, and I got a message from Emil one day. I'm like, whoa, I've made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
he's fantastic, both, on the live stream
absolutely.
And just as a person.
Absolutely. Class act.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a better person than Emil out there. Mm-hmm. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, our viewers are mostly Midwest, but you never know who's going to pop on. You never know who's going to see this on replay. You've got a tournament coming up later this month. Can people still get in? And if so, how do they go about registering?
Yep. The easiest way is to contact me directly, whether they go to the email that's on my flyer. Make sure you go on to Complete Bowling Events on Facebook. I post everything there, and any and all of my tournaments, results, everything you can find on the CB Facebook page. But yeah, the best way to get signed up is either message me directly on Facebook or email me, and I'm usually pretty quick about responding. Luckily, I have a job where I can hop on my phone and respond to a text or a message real quick. But yes, there is still space because, like I said, everybody procrastinates. So there's still plenty of room as of right now, but I'm confident that we'll, have plenty of entries and have a great turnout again like the last 2 years.
Cool. Yeah, that's, kudos to you. I mean, first of all, for having 3 years of $10,000 events in a row. That's awesome. And, for kind of putting yourself out there. I mean, you've got to have the confidence, like I said, because there is that risk. But having that faith in your bowling community is really cool to see. Let's see. Carl says Emil is amazing on and off the lanes. Truly a class act. Totally agree. Ooh, Sam has a great question. Curious if they offer smart money. Do you allow juniors in this event?
Yep, I allow youth bowlers to bowl. They just got to fill out the waiver form, and anybody that cashes then goes to their smart account.
Okay. All right.
Yep,
So
I welcome them.
So Sam,
I don't promote to the youth very heavily just because I grew up bowling JBT, and I know that they have some big tournaments around that time also. So I don't really want to detract from the JBT Southwest stuff, but absolutely welcome youth bowlers to come bowl.
Okay. Sam says 400 form. Very nice. She's familiar with that. Her son, Trey Henriksmeyer, has won a PBA regional. He's, you name it around the Midwest, he's won it. So who knows? Maybe he gets on an airplane and shows up down there.
Yeah,
Jay,
absolutely.
Yeah, Jay says, my money is on Maximum Bob to win that 10K. Is he in?
I haven't had Maximum Bob yet. I actually met Robert last year at the Age and Om. Great guy. I mean, I grew up watching him bowl, and who doesn't enjoy watching how hard he threw in a rev rate? Like everybody dreamed to have that, but super great guy. And I know that he was talking about trying to come out for it because he's good friends with Carl Long. So it's not like he doesn't have a place to stay. So cool. If Maximum Bob's watching, come on out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure folks, even those of us who can't make it there, will want to see him on the live stream because, like you said, total entertainment there. Okay, before we get into your bowling story, I do want to let people know how they can enter the chip magnet giveaway tonight. So, as I mentioned at the top, we are giving away a 6-pack of chip magnet salsa. It is as awesome as Mark London says it is. And I'm not just saying that because they support the show. Loved it before, have loved it since. But basically, it's pretty easy. If you are a live viewer and you are logged into Google and YouTube, meaning you have the ability to be in the live chat and comment, type hashtag CBE in the live chat, like Complete Bowling Events, CBE, and press enter. You, again, must be logged in, and we will pick a winner at the end of the show. So CBE in the comments is what you need to do. We've got a couple in so far, and hopefully that'll show up. Yeah, so you can see right there that, we've got 5 entries so far, so that's working out. But, throw it in there. Again, a 6-pack of chip magnet salsa. You can choose the flavors, although I have some favorites that I could recommend. But, throw it in there. We will get back to that at the end of the show. I'll even put a reminder here in the comments for folks, and I've got the little ticker ready. So, there's nobody can say how do you enter. It's all there for you, and you should be ready to go. Again, at the end of the show, we will pick a winner. Theo, let's kind of talk about your bowling story kind of from the start of it. How did you, first of all, are you from Phoenix originally, and how did you get into bowling?
Yeah, so I'm originally from San Diego, born and raised. So I don't enjoy this time of year in Arizona. I've been here 17 years, and I still don't enjoy it. So
Okay.
I don't like the heat.
Yeah.
75 and below, and I'd be happy. But born and raised in San Diego. I got into bowling because my mom's whole side of the family was all nothing but bowlers. And so I spent many, many nights at league with my mom and my grandmother watching them. And I'd go down, and get a lane and just throw the bowling ball. Fell in love with the game. And I've been bowling ever since. I was 10 years old when I first picked up a ball.
Okay.
And then I want to say when I was like 14, I started bowling some tournaments. And I learned I bowled JST, which was the Junior Scratch Tour in SoCal. But that was mainly out of like the Riverside area, which is a couple hours north of San Diego. And then I met Jeff Hemer, who runs the JBT, Junior Bowlers Tour. And I was bowling. There used to be a doubles tournament in Laughlin, Nevada every year, Memorial Day weekend. And I met Jeff there, and I said, Jeff, man, you need to come to San Diego. And he said, all right, I'll set up a tournament. If you get enough bowlers, I'll come back. So I got to work, and I promoted the heck out of his tournament, and he had a great turnout. So now you have the SoCal JBT. And so I take pride in that. Anytime that there's anybody from out there, I'm like, yeah, SoCal's because of me.
Yeah.
But I kept on bowling, and then I ended up going adult when I was 20, I believe. And I bowled some regionals. I love bowling the New Mexico Open, but I got to a point where mentally I knew what I needed to do, but physically I couldn't because I have a wrist injury. So I had to scale back. I couldn't. It's frustrating when your brain tells you what you need to do, but physically you can't.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's like, all right, I just need to scale back. I just bowl league, I run leagues. And then my way of staying involved, though, it was kind of a good transition because I wanted to put together the 10K tournament, but started off with, CBE. It was a great transition because I wanted to be involved in the game still, but obviously I couldn't compete like I wanted to, like I felt like I could. So then that's when CBE was born.
Yeah. You're in Phoenix now. You talk about your roots in San Diego. These seem like places where I envision people outside doing things, on the water, in parks, whatever, you can find outdoors just because the weather is so nice most of the year. Does that detract from the bowling scene in these communities, or do you find that it's better than some Midwest knucklehead like me might think?
There's quite a few people that still bowl. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of options to go bowl because bowling centers have closed down. Real estate markets say, hey, we can make more money. We'll buy your center, close it, and then they build condos or whatever. Yeah. So it happened to a couple centers in San Diego. But me personally, even though I grew up in San Diego, I hated the beach. I don't like sand in my toes. So I was more than happy to be bowling. And I couldn't really play many sports because I had an issue with my neck, so I couldn't pass physicals. Like, I would love to have been able to play football and hit people and get away with it, but I couldn't because of my neck. Yeah. So that's why, I enjoyed bowling. But I don't really see too much of an issue with people wanting to be outside. People do. They still, what I see is, what are the two things that go hand in hand? Bowling and golf.
Yeah.
So people golf, this time of year, though, with how hot it is, these guys are getting 5 a.m. tee times. They get a round in, and then they'll come bowl a tournament at 10 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So I've had a few guys that do that. They'll call me up and say, hey, do you still have spots available? I just finished on the 18. I'll be there in a half hour. I'm like, yep, go ahead and get here. I'll put you on a lane,
Yeah, that's awesome. Would you say you had, a coaches, anybody who you'd really credit with helping steer you the right way in the competitive sense?
I had a multitude of people that just kind of gave me tips along the way. When I felt like I needed a good tune-up or to advance my game, one of the best things I did was go to Camp Bakes with Mark Baker. And this was way back in the day when he first started, when Kim Terrell was still there. Well, Kim Kearney, sorry. When Kim Kearney was still there. And she is awesome. I mean, I'd spend almost the entire camp working with Kim and then go, okay, I guess I got to go film the recording with Bakes to see my improvement. But, she was a big help. And then a lot of it, though, was I just put in a lot of work. I mean, when I was a kid, my sister worked at the bowling alley. So I would seriously bowl 15 to 20 games every day during the summer. I had nothing else to do because I didn't want to go to the beach. So it was either in the bowling center or I'd be at the racetrack on Saturday night watching stock car racing. So,
okay. I like this comment here. Amanda Mendoza chimed in, said Theo has made a huge impact on competitive bowling and runs amazing events with great opportunities to improve your game. That's got to be good to hear.
Yeah, Amanda bowls my Tuesday night league, which is our sport pattern league, and she's a super nice person. I actually got a quick funny little story about her because when she first bowled one of my women's events, she told me afterwards, we were chatting, she was like, I was so nervous, bowling with them. I don't belong there. I'm like, sure you do. Why don't you? Everybody belongs. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But she let it slip that she kind of idolized Brianna Cote. So the next time I had a women's event, but she was too nervous to go talk to Bri. So the next time I had a women's event, I happen to know the guy running the tournament, so I put her on the same pair with Brianna, and and afterwards she messaged me after and she goes, "Thank you so much. She is so nice and so helpful." And I'm like, "See, these superstars, you just got to talk to them. They're all nice. They're just like us."
They certainly are, especially in bowling. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. You brought up Brianna. I reached out to you when I had her on and asked about, things, being a teammate of hers. And you had said something to the effect, and it'll be in this clip, about how she is, very much willing to, to help out other bowlers and help them, kind of diagnose problems and, improve their game through, through coaching almost. But here's what she had to say when I brought that up.
I've bowled with Theo for a long time, through youth bowling up until now, and Theo is left-handed, so I can see the left side of the lane too, which is it benefits him. And sometimes if I'm bowling against him, which is not very often now because he's more like a tournament director, which I'm grateful for. I don't help him now if I have to bowl against him, but I'll help him if he bowls with me.
Yeah. So you get the help, and now you're against her and you don't get the help.
Yeah. No, we go way back. And I mean, I guess she's helped me along the way. She's coaching me because she has so much more experience than I do. But I'm not afraid to ask somebody for help. I mean, we bowl nationals every year. And, the left side is hard at nationals, especially when you're the only lefty. They're hard. You watched this year. You stopped by. They were hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had Jim, my buddy Chip Magnet Jim, was, I believe, either one of two or the only lefty on our pair. So it was tough for him in an environment where you have to break it down somewhat.
Yep.
Yeah, if there's only one of you on the left, that's tough sledding.
Yeah. They're hard. So, I always, if I don't have something right off the bat, I'm always like, all right, Bri, what do I need to do? Because she sees it differently than I do, so I'm not afraid to ask for that help. I know that she's got the knowledge on lane play and everything else. So she's definitely been a help, whenever we bowled. And it's not just when she bowls with me, even when we bowl against each other, she has no problem trying to help somebody that needs some help, because knowing Bri like a sister to me, like, she wants to beat somebody when they're at their best, not because they weren't having a great day. Yeah. She'd rather you be bowling at 100% and she'd be able to beat you than you not bowling that great.
Yeah. I hope you double in the 10th, so I'm forced to double in the 10th, and then I'll win that way. Rocky says Team Lefty Nation. He says he's the only lefty on his team for nationals. in July. He says, pray for me. And I think, one of my really good friends is left-handed. And I think, listening to him talk, one of the things that kind of gets lost in the whole lefty-righty debate is the fact that when transition happens for lefties, they often get stuck in it a lot longer just because it's not happening as fast.
Right. I 100% agree. I mean, when I was bowling nationals this year in doubles, I think I was turning doubles, around 400, and I was bowling well. Like, I feel like I bowled really well, and I only shot 1760. But in doubles, I was turning around 400, and then I hit that transition, and I had nothing. I mean, I worked my butt off to shoot 140 or 150 that game. But then and that whole game was spent with transition, and then singles started and pop off 240. So I'm like, what in the world? That's the thing. You're 100% right. Like, transition lasts so much longer when they're hard for a lefty.
Yeah. That being said, I'm a right-hander, so I really have no excuse. I just miss spares. That's my excuse. But let's go back to Carl, who was in here live before. He was telling me that you have this background in competitive bowling, which he says gives you a unique insight into managing high-stakes events with precision and poise. Do you find that you can, kind of draw upon that institutional knowledge that you have from competing all these years and apply it to a tournament that you run, whether it be a 10K or just a regular CBE event?
No, absolutely. It's funny. I was actually talking to my boss today, who knows nothing about bowling, about something very similar. And I was telling her, I run my tournaments as if I was bowling them myself. If I didn't want to, if I was on the competitor side and I was to show up to one of my events, is it something that I would want to come back and bowl again?
Yeah.
Was it ran well? Was it ran poorly? Because we've all bowled bad events before where you're like, not a chance am I going back to that one,
Right.
Or you've heard of them. So definitely having the competitor side gives me a little bit of a advantage on how to run my events. And one of our slogans when we first started the club was a tournament for bowlers by bowlers, because I'm a bowler.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm still a bowler. I'm kind of retired halfway. I'm a tournament director now.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put on a tournament that somebody's not going to want to come back to. And obviously, even 7 years into it, I'm still learning some things. You run into situations where you have to think on the fly.
Yep.
And one person's not going to like it. The other person will like it. And I've learned that throughout time, whether it's the formats, the patterns that are put out, whatever it is, somebody's always going to be happy and somebody's not going to be happy.
Right. Yeah. Did, you mentioned that the injuries have really kind of made you think of bowling competitively a little differently. They've made you adapt. And this, running good tournaments is a way for you to stay involved in the sport as much as you'd like to. But back in the day when you were more competitive, when you were bowling more events, you were bowling the regionals that you mentioned, taking part in. Did you see yourself as a tournament director back then, or was it something that you specifically, focused on because of the injuries?
I never thought that I'd be a tournament director. I had no desire, I had never even crossed my mind. And it literally just happened overnight, on one of those trips back from New Mexico with Jonesy. And finally I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something. Like, I can't compete like I want to. So I put on a tournament. I had Jacob Buttriff was a partner at the beginning of this, because I have this platform. Jacob had this platform.
Yeah.
He had a much bigger platform to be able to reach people. So we partnered up, and I pretty much ran the tournament, but he helped with promoting it and, finding some sponsors at the beginning to help get the word out. And then it just kind of took off from there. It started off with open division, And then I had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, we've got some seniors out here in Sun City, which is our retirement community, that need a tournament. So I went and I ran a tournament for seniors. I said, hey, if I get enough entries, then okay, you know, we'll keep doing a senior division. And they filled the center. So needless to say, I kept running senior tournaments as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if they're coming out, absolutely. All right. So Jay says he sees so many lefties throwing Storm Summit at his local house. I don't know if that's a piece that you used, or something similar, strong symmetrical, anything like that.
I don't really throw many Storm balls. The only SPI ball I would say that I have is a Zen.
Okay.
Just because Zen ball is good. I mean, we can't deny it. But I throw primarily like Brands of Brunswick stuff. I'm a lefty, so I have a purple in my bag.
Yep.
I have a pink urethane in my bag. But when it comes to like house shots, it's more of like a GB4 Pearl. So I don't know too much on the Storm stuff because that stuff's too strong for my game, and I can't control it. So I need the stuff that's a little bit smoother. But yeah, I mean, that's generally what I stick with. When I was a kid, I loved seeing the big hook. So I threw the Storm stuff because it hooked for me. And then I finally was like, okay, the big hook probably isn't the best thing for my game to be able to score. So,
Sure.
and I have nothing against them, nothing at all. They're great equipment. Just for my personal game, it doesn't fit with me. So,
and I mean, the next time around, I could have somebody on the show who says the exact opposite. Hey, that stuff is great for me. Brunswick makes great stuff too, but this is what I found knocks the pins over, because that's the goal. Right. Sam says Trey has 2 left-handed parents, yet he's a righty. Bad rack. But he's a 2-handed righty who can also back it up. So I mean, he gets a little left-handed action there too. Amanda says, just like Red Square. Do you ever put out Red Square for any of the tournaments?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I put it out, I think, 2 or 3 times, and I'll give you one guess on who has the highest winning percentage on that pattern.
Oh boy. So I'm trying to think about the names that I've seen at your events. I mean, Brianna's there. Buttriff bowls some of them, right?
He's bowled a couple.
Okay. Wesley Lowe.
Wesley just won his first title a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Highest winning percentage. Oh man.
On Red Square specifically.
I don't know. Ed Smaglick?
Brianna.
Oh, Brianna. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
I think she's 2 for 2 or 2 for 3. I don't remember how many times I put it out, but I think I put it out 3 times and she's won twice. Wow. And I had a senior win the other one.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I just threw Smaglick out there because we used to bowl together in Milwaukee. So
oh yeah.
And I know
no, Smags is good. He's good also. He's bowled pretty well on that pattern.
Sure.
But, yeah, Bree is always like, hey, you gonna put out Red Square so I can win this weekend?
Yeah. Sure. That's why. No, Jay says every TD says that. Okay. Rocky says, am I the only lefty who hates urethane? Closest to urethane that works for me is my Tank Rampage Pearl. Are you the only one? I don't know, but I mean, like you said, there's a place for a couple of urethane pieces in your bag.
Yeah, and you know what? I used to not be able to throw urethane because I didn't have enough hand or ball speed for it, and then I kind of learned how to use it. I like if you watch the Queens at all a couple weeks ago with Hope Bromley, she talked about how she had to learn how to throw it because there are times and places where that's your best option. You've got to learn how to use it. And I don't like to try and use that as my, best option because, a lot of people say it's a crutch, but if that's what's going to strike the most, then why would you not use it?
It's the name of the game.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
Knock down pins. Amanda says some people love it and some hate it. I guess that would apply to both Red Square and urethane. Carl says one thing about Theo is he loves to make them tough. And I really admire that, coming from a place where, I've got to drive a ways typically to get onto something like Beaten Path or, Highway to Hell or something like that. I think that when you get to a certain level, you've got a crop of bowlers that really has a hunger for that, to be able to compete on the tough and to have a regular outlet for that. Although you're in a bigger metro area than I am by far, it's still really cool.
Yeah. So sometimes I have a tournament where my thought process going into it is how many obscenities can be said to me today about how they really feel about me today.
Sure.
But I do have the tournaments though where I'm nicer and I go, all right, I'm going to let these guys strike a bit today. You can't make them impossible every single time.
Right.
But definitely when there's more money on the line, I'm going to make them hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's good stuff. Even if it's hard to see past the S's and F's and all that stuff. Rocky says we call the red square the red devil here. And yeah, I could see how, people would call it that if, they don't have the kind of success that Brianna has on it. Right. That can get frustrating pretty quick. Carl also told me, in terms of your run as a tournament director, he said that you are an absolute powerhouse when it comes to organizing those complete bowling events. He said that your attention to detail and relentless dedication ensure that everything runs smoothly, making each event a huge success. He says he brings innovative ideas and cutting-edge strategies to every event you manage. He says your ability to think outside the box keeps participants engaged and always coming back for more. He also said at the end of all this that he may have been too nice. So taking all of that into account, I mean, tell me your reaction to all that.
No, it's good to hear, comments like that. I knew of Carl before I helped with the Agent On last year, but I didn't really know Carl until early last year when he reached out to me to, execute his tournament because he had gone to Andrew Kane, which I think everybody knows who Andrew Kane is.
Oh yeah,
and said, hey, I have this idea for a tournament. Where do I start? And Andrew, this made me feel really good that somebody of Andrew's stature said, well, if you want to run that tournament, you need to go talk to Theo. Like, he's the one that can make it happen. So that makes me feel good. I mean, there's days where you run tournaments and you're like, man, I don't know if I want to do this ever again because, you get some of those, you get those bowlers that vent, and I mean, you get used to it, but then there's the ones that vent and you're like, wow, man, like, you bowled bad, get over it. Like, it's not my fault you bowled bad. But then you get comments like that, that wasn't a direct comment to me, but when somebody of that stature says, hey, like, this is the man to make that happen. And the fact that Carl trusted me with, not only his tournament, but his name on that tournament to make sure that it ran as well as it did, like, that made me feel really, really good. And at the end of the whole tournament, he sat back and he was like, holy crap, man. Like, we made this happen, and I'm like, I enjoy what I do. And he's right. Like, I pay attention to detail because I want to make sure that everything runs very smooth. I try not to have a lot of helpers just because I would prefer that if something did go wrong, then it's my fault.
Yeah.
You can't point fingers at anybody else.
You want to take the responsibility.
Yep. And I've made score entry mistakes on, and so it's, I think 2 or 3 times I put in a score wrong and it changed the brackets. And you know what? At the end of the day, I took the hit on it. That's my fault. I'm not going to go chase down bowler X or bowler Y and say, hey, I paid out wrong because I entered a score wrong. Nope. Sure. That's my fault. Not anybody else's problem. I'm going to fix the score and pay this guy the correct amount. And that guy's going to keep what I already paid him.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned, Carl, you guys after the fact, wow, we did this. When is when is it typical for you to have that, okay, the plane is in the air moment? I mean, is it when everything is said and done, you've crowned a champion, everything's cleaned up, and you go home? Or is there a little bit of that when, when practice is over and guys are, and ladies are bowling for real?
I think for me, on the bigger tournaments, because my smaller ones, I do it all the time. I do 2 or 3 a month. It's nothing new to me. It's all right. Got to get up, go run this, do what I know how to do, and then go home. But on those bigger ones, I think those oh crap moments are like at the very end. If everybody's packed up, the center's now empty after it's been full all weekend, and you're like, holy mackerel, and then you're kind of doing a recap, because I go in and I check all my books and stuff and make sure that, all the checks that I've written, everything's good to go. Except last year, what a disaster. I'll tell you that in a minute, but, but no, that's kind of the moment, when you're kind of wrapping up and you're like, wow, I just paid out this much money for this weekend. That's pretty dang cool,
Yeah.
And when I ran my first Cactus Classic, I had Steve Mackey commented on one of the posts of the tournament. They had all the payouts, and he goes, for your first tournament, you paid out that much money? He's like, good work. And Steve Mackey runs the New Mexico Open. So getting compliments like that from somebody like Steve, that's really cool. You did something. So,
yeah.
But,
okay. So what happened?
So a little side story. So last year, I am back at work on Monday after the Cactus, and I had told the guys. So no, I think it was Tuesday. I had told the bowlers. I said, hey, I'm going to post date the check for Tuesday. That way, I can get to the bank, get all the cash that you guys have paid me on site deposited. So everything's all good. Not a problem. Everybody understands. It takes time. You can't go to the bank on Sunday.
Right.
So Tuesday rolls around, and I get a Facebook message from one of my bowlers at Cash, and he goes, the bank's not recognizing the check. And I'm like, that's weird. But the check was kind of crumpled. So I'm like, well, maybe it's because you're doing it on the mobile app and, it's crumpled.
Sure.
Well, then about a half hour later, I get a text from Brett Wolf, and he goes, hey, homie, the bank's saying it can't find the account. And I'm like,
oh, no.
Hold on. So I go and I look back at the other check that was, a picture was sent to me.
Yeah.
The checks that they mailed to me were nowhere close to my account number.
Oh, no.
So here I am, every single person that cashed, I had to reach out to and go, hey, I need to Zelle, Venmo, or PayPal you your money.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is all the bowlers were totally understanding, it's a mistake, but guess what? This year I'm double checking checks before I start writing them, going, do these accounts match my actual account number?
Yeah.
So what a disaster that was. But.
Right. But it's one where you can actually, the toothpaste is out of the tube, but you can jam it back in.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, all right, this I will fix it. And everybody was totally understanding. Nobody had an issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. I mean, it's cool to have that trust from the bowlers that they know I'm not like, all right, peace out, guys. I'm putting it all on black at the casino.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And you got to have that trust. Carl said it hit me Sunday night after the dust settled. Wow, we did it. And he appreciates the the humor in it after the fact. After the fact, it's easy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yep. Jay said that should have been verified. I'm sure it will be. It has been and
absolutely.
Will be. Yep. Moving forward.
You don't order checks thinking that they're going to screw up the account number on your checks. I've ordered checks many, many years. I never had an issue, and then I had an issue. So I will not let that happen again.
Once bitten, twice shy. Yeah.
Yep.
So where do you go from here? I mean, CBEs are, very successful, very well known. I had known about them in passing even before you started, appearing on Sweep the Rack and doing things like that. So that's got to feel good that you've got the big reach. What's the end game?
I don't know. I haven't looked that far. I mean, I just want to keep my ultimate goal is just to keep growing bowling in Arizona. I mean, I've had people say, "Hey, why don't you go run a tournament in Vegas or Laughlin or whatever?" That's not what my concept was. It was, we have a ton of talent in Arizona. This is where I want the stuff to be, is in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a ton of talent around in California, Nevada, New Mexico, and all of our surrounding states that should be coming out and bowling, the big tournament at least. I have goals for some other big tournaments that I'd like to put together, and I've spoke with Carl about it, and I think hopefully maybe in 2025 we might be adding another tournament to the big stage. But we'll see how that looks, though.
Yeah. You mentioned, the feedback that you get. Every tournament director gets feedback. It's usually bad. But tell me about the best compliment you've received. I mean, you had that kind of indirect thing with the New Mexico guy saying, what a great job you were doing, kind of with what he had said. But, is there a situation where a bowler came up to you and really kind of warmed your heart with something that you maybe didn't see coming?
So it wasn't in person, and I'll never forget this. It was a text message. I get this random text message on a Sunday night from one of my bowlers. I won't say a name or anything like that, but I get a random text message from a bowler. They went out of state and bowled a tournament, and they won the tournament. And then I get a text message saying, bowling other tournaments makes me appreciate how well you run yours so much more. Wow. And I was like, wow, thanks. Like, I do what and everybody always tells me, hey, great job, good job again today, great tournament, great this, great that. And I'm like, I appreciate every single bit of it, because, it does go a long way. And, for every 10 good compliments you get, there's always that one that's like, you could do this better. And I mean, I've had those incidents where I've told bowlers, like, if you can do better, here's clipboard, go for it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have thick skin and kind of snap back a little bit sometimes.
Sure.
So,
yeah. And I feel like some of the best tournaments that I've bowled in were run by someone who's a little gruff and maybe rubs a few of the people the wrong way, but has the majority in mind, has the bigger picture in mind as they go and run these things. And, I think that's kind of the secret sauce, right? Is you got to go into this not trying to please everybody, but trying to please almost everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my goal is, I look at the bigger picture, because usually the ones that are complaining at every single tournament, they're still at every single tournament.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm doing something right that you keep coming back over and over and over, because you do know that I'm doing a good job, not to toot my own horn or anything, but like, I do a great job at what I do, and I take pride in that. But yeah, you definitely have to keep the majority of the tournament, roster in mind. Is me changing the pattern to be this way going to make this one person happy, but now it's going to make 20 other people unhappy? I'd rather keep the 20 people happy than the one person.
Right.
And it's funny because I always get, like, anytime that a lefty wins, I don't know why, every time that a lefty wins, though, it's like, man, that pattern favor left-handers.
Yeah.
You got to do this or do that to not do that. I'm like, guys, I'll be totally honest. I don't know enough about oil patterns to be able to put a pattern out that's going to favor a lefty or a righty. I truly don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had to, be that knowledgeable in patterns. I'm left-handed.
Yep.
We're going to find a way to play on the gutter somehow.
Yeah.
So let's be real. We're going to try.
Right. Yeah. And again, there's that variable of not knowing how it's going to break down on either side. That, how would anybody truly be able to? And, I wouldn't put that past John Janowitz, but, he's a lot smarter than both of us put together. Amanda says, we appreciate all that you've done and continue to do for the competitive game. Always looking forward to the next event. Sounds like she's a regular now at your events.
Yeah, she was regular for a while, and then some things happened with her life, and stepped away a little bit. But now she's like, "All right, when's your next women's event? Like, I want to be there." So
Okay, cool.
she's ready to go.
Awesome. I want to give the folks out there watching one more chance to get into the giveaway. I'm going to try and pull this up here. It should be sharing. I'm just not on the right thing here. Oh, Jason, I would love to see a no oil tourney. Not even kidding. You ever consider that?
Probably not. I don't think the centers would allow me to do that.
That's tough stuff. I don't know if I'd want to
Yeah.
go on that, but
I've gotten comments about, hey, do a plastic ball or something like that kind of tournament, which maybe we might do like a little sweeper.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So anyway, for those who didn't catch it the last way across, there's the hashtag. Put it in the comments. You've got 11 entries so far, and we will pick a winner shortly here. But I do want to keep with tradition and show format and go off the sheet with you. And that's where I ask you to challenge somebody else. Doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world, but certainly can be to appear on a future episode. So, as you know, we look for people with a passion for the sport, a unique story to tell. So, Theo Douthit, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fev?
I've been thinking about that one. I would challenge Matt Jones.
Okay.
He's the one that kind of pushed me to get into this. So Matt Jones.
All right. Matt, if you're watching either live or on replay, and you want to take Theo up on his challenge, reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook. I'm Andrew Pfeffer, or email bowlingwiththefeff@yahoo.com, and we can certainly make that happen. All right, let's give away some salsa. I'm hoping I can get this. Gosh, my screen shared here. I'm gonna try and get the giveaway tool up. Let's see. How about that? There we go. And now you can actually see this little random draw coming through. There's 11 entries, so you've got a 1 in 11 shot. Here we go. Let's see who's going to win this thing. A lot of familiar faces there. There you go. Todd Malish. Todd, congratulations. You are the winner of the 6-pack of salsa. If you want to reach out to me, again, either way, Facebook or bowlingwiththefeff@yahoo.com. We can get your flavor preferences and get that delivered out to you. Thanks again to our friends at Chip Magnet Salsa for helping us out with that, and all the support for Bowling with the Feff. Theo, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and for your interest in the show, and certainly best wishes for you in that 10K event and all the ones in the future. And if anybody has questions for you about the tournaments, how do they reach out?
You can, like I said, you can message me on Facebook directly. I'm pretty quick to respond, or you can email me. My email is theo.cbedirector@outlook.com. I'll try to keep up on that, and I'm more than happy to take bowlers and anybody. We have just a quick rundown of it. There's 4 squads. There's one on Friday, June 28th at noon, and then we have 3 squads on Saturday the 29th at 7, 12:30, and 6, and then our Desperado following that 6 p.m. squad. It is $280 to enter. And then we have a re-entry for $175, and then the Desperado is $100. You can't bowl a Desperado if you didn't bowl a regular squad, so you got to at least bowl that.
Okay.
Yeah,
and lots of great sponsors down there.
Yeah.
You have. I mean, do you have regular sponsors that you maybe want to give a quick shout to that kind of help you run these things?
Yeah, absolutely. Two of our longest standing sponsors from day one, EFX, of course, Apparel EFX with Bree and Randy. I thank them. They give all of our winners a jersey, so I appreciate that from them. And then the Brands of Brunswick, they give us bowling balls so that we can give away to bowlers, raffle off to help supplement our prize funds. And then one of our local bowlers, he owns a painting and epoxy. That's Chuck's Painting. And then we also have Ramsey Auto, which the owner, he is one of the funniest guys ever. If you ever catch his Facebook, they're always posting some memes that are, you wouldn't think a business would post that, but that's his sense of humor. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
he's a great guy. I appreciate Ramsey and all of their support, as well as Carl, you know, with his Agent Ong team, and also John Verbal with the Desert Southwest.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Great, great names there, and really glad that those folks are helping you out, because it sounds like you are running some terrific tournaments, which is always good to see. Our next show is coming up next Wednesday, and I am looking forward to this one. I feel like I say that a lot because we have a lot of great guests, but Nicole Landry is coming on. You may remember her as Nicole DePaul. She's been married since the last time she came on. Former women's coach at Upper Iowa University. Head coach, I should say, men's and women's. But we're going to get you caught up on her story as she's moved south, continued a career in a new direction, and is keeping bowling top of mind moving forward. So Nicole will be on next Wednesday, June 12th, 7 p.m. Central. Again, Theo, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate you having me on and getting to talk a little bowling and talk about my tournament club.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Always a pleasure to see you, whether it's live or replay. Until next week, be just and fear not. We'll see you then.